Hello, good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you again. And in today's lesson, we're going to continue what we have discussed in the previous meeting. In the previous meeting, we have discussed about job vacancies, how to understand job vacancies, where to find job vacancies, and also how uh, to uh, to specifically find the demand of the job vacancies itself. And now we're going to talk about understanding and composing an application letter. This material is somehow uh, needed whenever you want to apply for a job, right? After reading a job vacancies, then when you are interested to actually apply to that kind of company, for example, then you need to compose your application letter. But the problem is composing application letter is not that simple. It's not like another writing. It's not like general writing. It has rule, it has guidance, right? So if you want to be accepted in a certain job, especially for the international scale company, then you need to compose your application letter with a very good way, or with a very structured way. That is why we need to learn this type of material for today's, right? For the objective of this lesson, in this lesson you're going to study about how to understand the job application. So whoever write the job application, whenever you read them, whenever you read the job application, then it's easy for you to understand what they write and how they write it. And also the objective of the lesson is how to compose an application letter. So at the end of this lesson, the students are expected to be able to write their own application letter, to compose and to understand the compositions of the application letter itself, right? So that is the objective of the lesson, right? Now, what is application letter? Application is letter is actually the letter that you send to the certain company if you want to apply for a job, right? We use it to let a company know about our work, our skill, our track record, and all the information they need about us, which somehow related to the position that we want to apply. For example, if the company provide uh, the job for accountant, for example, then you need to put as all the skill related to this kind of uh, position. And also, writing an English application letter is quite simple, but it's a bit tricky, so we have to make it as interesting as possible, and also to grab the attention from the company. So in order to make the company realize, because whenever there is a job vacancies, then there are a lot of applicants want to apply for a certain job, then the company will start to select, right, the candidate which will suit their characteristic, for example. That's why we need to make it as interesting as possible to grab their attention to read our application letter, right? Okay. And there are some characteristics to make the application letter uh, more charming to see, for example, more charming to read. Number one, use short word and short sentence. Do not go around the bush. Talk talk in brief, in concise, and be detailed, right? And number two, avoid using informal word or sentence. Using informal word indicate that you are unable to work cooperative in a scale of uh, formal environment. That's why using informal word is not recommended. Number three, use active voice to emphasize our skill. So avoid using passive voice. That's why use active voice and to emphasize the skill, what you are able to do, what what is your, for example, your skill. So in order to emphasize that, use active voice instead of passive voice, right? And number 4, use action verb, the verb that shows what you can do and what you can conduct, for example. So it's an action verb, is very recommended. Next, right, there are some part of the application letter that cannot be erased from the composition, right? Number 1, we call it sender address. Sender address is basically the address of you. For example, if you send the application letter from Banda Aceh, then means that sender address is Banda Aceh. Okay, date, company address, salutation, opening paragraphs, body, closing paragraphs, and closing. Okay, you guys really need to remember all of this type, all of these all of these parts, and here are the explanation of each part. The application letter. Number 1, it's a sender address, right? The sender address, you can put the sender address in the left side or in the right side. Okay, as you can see in the example provided, the sender address was written right in the right paper. If you want to change, for example, if you want to change this sender address to this side, it's totally fine. Okay, it's totally fine. But remember that you need to put the address as detailed as possible. If you leave, for example, in Banda Aceh, state the street name. If you leave, for example, in Kampung Mulia, then state also the number of your uh, house, for example. It's ease them to contact you if your application is being accepted. And then date. Remember, the date is when you make the application letter, not when you send them. For example, you write the application letter in 18 August, for example. Then you send the application letter in the next day. Okay, in 19 August. So you need to write the date in 18 August instead of 19 August. Why? Because in 18 August is the date when you write the application letter. You can send it in the next day, or you can send them, or you can send it in the next week, for example. But remember that the date is expected to indicate that the time of you writing the job application, right? So remember that, again, this is not the date when you send the application. All right, so next, a company address. Right, put the address of the company where you want to apply. Make them as accurate as possible. Most of the time it is located in the left side of the paper. It's located in the left side of the paper, but most of the time, it's not all the time. Sometimes people put it in the right side of the paper, right? But the key is make them as accurate as possible, because there is an indication that can be taken from how you write the name of the or the address of the company. It's indicate how serious you are to apply to that certain company. If you write it right, means that you have conducted research before. It is good for the company. It shows how eager you are to be part of that company, right? Okay. Next, number 4 is a salutation. Salutation can be in any way. It can be dear sir, dear madam, dear sir or madam, or dear sir or madam, dear Mr. Agus, or etc. But remember, like the example written, dear Mr. Suharno, only put the name when you exactly know the name of the authorities in the company. If you see the example, dear Mr. Suharno, it means that Mr. Suharno is the one who are going to read this application letter and going to give a judgment, or are going to give the decision whether you are going to be accepted or not. If you don't know the name of Mr. Suharno, for example, then only say dear sir or madam, because we cannot predict whether it will be a sir or whether it will be a madam who will read our application letter, right? Okay. Next, an opening paragraph. See, an opening paragraph is only to tell the company two things. Number one, to tell the company the job or the position that you want to apply, and then number two, to tell the company where did you get the information, right? In 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 the positions that you want to apply, it is very important because sometimes the company or a job vacancies open a job, or a company provide a job or job vacancies for different position at the same time. So you need to show or to write what position that you want to apply to each them to match with your uh, background knowledge, skill, and etc. And also you need to mention where did you get the information, right? Whether it's from newspaper, for example, radio, TV, uh, friends, or agencies, or etc. If you see it in the example, it says, I would like to apply for a book editor position. So the position that this person or this Rian Pranowo want to apply is an editor position, right? We just advertise it in Kompas. So basically, Rian Pranowo have already the the tell to the company two different information in one paragraph. I would like to apply for a book position, a book editor position, at which advertise it in Kompas. Means that Rian Pranowo read the job vacancies on Kompas, right? Okay. So that is an opening paragraph. Opening paragraph consists of two things. Number one, what position that you want to apply, and then number two, where did you get the information, right? Next, body. But the body of this job application is very important because this is going to be uh, a big consideration of the company whether they want to accept you to be part of their um, company or not, right? Because the body tells about past experience. For example, if you want to apply for a teacher and you have ever been experiencing being a teacher, you guys need to put that in the body. Okay, if your past experience, for example, more than one, then put all of them, or also put any activities or skills that matches or similar with the job. For example, if you are um, if you are applying for a teacher, for example, then you have a skill, you have a diploma, or you have a certificate of the successful training, for example, that indicate your skill. You need to put that in the body. For example, take a look at the example. The opportunity presented in this listing is very interesting. I believe that my past experience as an editor for 3 years is very relevant and applicable to your company. Besides, I can work under pressures and I have a high motivation in finishing all my job individually or in teamwork. In addition, I got dedication as the most diligent worker in my past officer for all my hard working. So Rian Pranowo tried to tell to the company that he has been experienced, or he has experience being uh, an editor. So he has an experience as an editor for 3 years, and it is very relevant because he himself want to apply for a book editor positions. And also he tried to match with his skill. For example, I have a high motivation in finishing all my job individual or teamwork, which means that he is able, his skill to work in individual or teamwork is somehow that make a plus point for him. Or in addition, for example, I get education the most diligent worker, which means that he also have been considered as the most diligent worker in his past um, job, for example, with which is very effective to show that he is diligent worker. That's why in the body it stated that give a convincing statement that you are qualified and the right one to get the job. So why you are the right one to get the job? Why you are the one who really, really able to do the job, and why the company need to consider you out of other candidate, right? Okay, next. Closing paragraph, right? This closing paragraph is only to indicate if they want to if the company want to contact you. So what you need to tell in the closing paragraph is ask them or ask the company about the possibility to have an interview, where you can have interview, and you also can put the contact number or email address to make them or to make the company easier to follow up, or to question, or to give another schedule of the interview, for example. And also don't forget to thank them, because it is very important to show your attitude and also your personality, right? Okay, let's see what Rian Prawono write. Please give my application strong consideration. Please consider, so Rian Pranowo said, please consider my application. I look forward to hearing a good news from you. I'm waiting for you to tell me that I am passing uh, to the interview phase, for example. And thank for your consideration. So it means that Rian Pranowo said that I am waiting for you to tell me if I pass, or if I got accepted, or if I got invited to the interview. And also he says he said actually, thanks for your consideration or for your kindly consideration, right? That's closing paragraphs. And last one is closing. Closing is basically the same with other letter. If you have studied about a letter before, then the closing is pretty much the same. Like sincerely, your faithfully, sincerely, yours, best regard, and etc. And last one, put your name below, right? So that is the closing. Right. But if I know this title, or I know that the title, the example that I have shown you is only one example. You can use you can use more variation on how you create, for example, an opening paragraph. Okay, look at this example. I listed 7 example. It is not only 7. You can add it until an unlimited number. You can use it in many various ways as good as possible. To make it easier for you to understand, I only listed 7 uh, expressions or variation on how to open and express our interest on filling certain position in opening paragraph. Okay, number 1, I'm writing to you in response to your advertisement for a tour guide position. Okay, I'm writing to you in response to your advertisement for a tour guide position, or it can be in response to your advertisement in the local newspaper. I hereby submit my application for a marketing manager positions. I'm writing to express my interest in a graphic designer position in your company, or I'm applying for the position of the fashion designer. Or you also can say, I wish to apply for the job of a flight attendant advertised in Post in Jakarta Post. Or I'm writing to apply for the secretary position, or which is very simple, I would like to apply for the positions. What is your position? For example, I would like to apply to be a teacher. I would like to apply for an accountant, for example, which I read in the newspaper, for example, right? So this is how you actually open and express your interest on filling a certain position in the opening paragraph. And how do you close the application letter? There are many ways of how you can close the application letter, right? It is not only 6, but I only put it 6 here as only as an example. You can create your own word, or you can create your own sentence. You can say, thank you for your time and consideration, or please give my application strong consideration, or thank you for considering my request, or I'm available for an interview at your convenience. I'm available for an interview schedule at your convenience. I look forward to hearing from you at your convenience. At your convenience mean that whenever you want, see, whenever you are convenienced with. If you're convenienced to do the interview tomorrow, then I will be available. If you want me to do the interview next week, then I will be available as well. So that's what at your convenience mean. All right. And I think that is all for today's meeting. Don't worry if you don't really understand about the composing job application letter. You still can contact me in WhatsApp, and I will be there to answer all of your questions, and also leave comment here to indicate that you are present in my class. So um, don't forget to give thumbs up, right? And once more, uh, there is an exercises that has been sent to our designated Google Classroom. So please do that exercises. If you found any difficulties, you may contact me, and also the exercise only mean to indicate whether you are, whether you have whether you guys understand or not, right? It has nothing to do with the, yes, it has something to do with the score, but it's not that important to what we call it, like, score is not that important. The most important thing is whether you guys can understand the point of this material or not. Okay, and that is all. See you everyone. I hope you guys understand, and have a good day. See you in next class.